vote?
Correct. So long as they become, they've reviewed the case and they reviewed the history, then they would be eligible to vote.
Yeah, we've seen in some instances, particularly the ZBA zoning board of appeals, where continued hearings, you have 3 members of the board of appeals that are sitting in and voting members, associate members that sit in, 3 voting members, and then for some reason they're absent. The continuation point, they have to postpone that continued hearing until the person can come back, so that they take in all the testimony and all the evidence and information, so that when they finally determine what action they're going to take, they were all present. And it's all
So let's say there was a public hearing, it was open and closed, and a board member was missing.
not open to close, it's open.
Oh, I see, it has to remain open, otherwise
Pretty much, if
they
it's
vote that
continued.
evening anyway, right? If it was
Right,
closed.
it covers more or less the ones that are continued. But even if we had a public hearing that we continued, and then 4 of us were there for the initial meeting, and then 5 of us were there for the second or third meeting, or just the second meeting, could that 5th member actually vote on the final determination of what the recommendation would be, what the final action would be by the board, which would be binding? Because we weren't there for the initial. This covers, it allows for, as long as the 5th member said, certified, basically says, please put it in the record, viewed all the material, I've looked at all the information, I've read the minutes of the meeting, and I'm up to speed.
Yes, Mr. Hill.
Again, because I did read this, and I know we're pretty much covered because we have a recording and a video recorder. But now, do all these Board of Appeals, do they tape record all their meetings? They have to, according to this.
I don't know
It
if
says,
it's record, well, it doesn't have to be a certificate. It could be
it
minutes.
does. It says which evidence shall include an audio or video recording. So they have to have a tape, they either listen or look at.
Or a transcript thereof. Transcript thereof, which would be, like minutes of the meeting.
In this session. Or a transcript.
Or a transcript there, which would be the minutes of the meeting plus whatever information was provided. In other words, document number 1, number 2,
Right.
number 3, as presented by whomever, whatever side. I think what it does is it kind of allows for, this probably came about because so many hearings have been put off,
Yeah.
continued, and postponed, and actually couldn't be taken because of the law was too restrictive, requiring those who initially sat in to be there through the whole thing.
Okay, well, is he going to come back and make a recommendation, or is it?
I really don't have firsthand knowledge of any problems with boards and committees, and that's why, if any of the board members are aware of the fact that this is something that's necessary, I would certainly say you would have better knowledge of that situation than I.
My only suggestion, again, might have with the planning commission too, where they continue public hearings on subdivisions and things of that kind. So my suggestion would be, talk with ZBA and the CPC. The board here isn't, I don't recall us being impacted over the years ever.
No,
But
I don't recall.
their hearings are more technical in nature by statute, because of the subdivision laws and then the pressure relief valve that the zoning board of appeals provides.
Okay.
They have to
We'll touch base.
So, I mean, it probably would work better for the applicants as well as the boards.
All right, so you'll talk to the ZBA and see.
Yes, and report back.
So we might want to reserve a spot if it makes sense for warrant.
I'll start at the beginning of my report. I'm in receipt of an appeal that has been filed by 4 residents at Middlesex Superior Court on Friday, seeking to overturn a decision by the ZBA to grant a special permit to OmniPoint Communications, known as T-Mobile USA, for a cell tower location at 55 Swan Pond Road. The appeal is being forwarded to legal counsel Copeland and Page, who will be defending the town's decision to approve the special permit. Just a notation that counsel must answer the complaint within 20 days. And I do have copies of the complaint, which we will be forwarding, but if anyone is interested in taking a look at it, there are 4 versions here. I would just ask that you return it back to us at the end of the meeting so we can forward They're here. Let's see.
All right?
Number two, I have been asked by a member of the Board of Selectmen to report on follow-up actions involving the non-operation of fire hydrants on Park Street. And as you know, this is in the area of a recent structure fire. There was a hydrant in the area of 361 Park Street that was out of service on that date and was inoperable. And actually, the particular hydrant was found to be inoperable back in April. The water department did report to me today that the particular hydrant in question has been repaired and was back in service as of last Friday. The water department has typically repaired hydrants that they're aware of, and we were not really comfortable with the reason why this hydrant had been out of service. There are a number of other issues that were mentioned by the water department involving other hydrants in the area, and to the best of knowledge of myself and staff, those fire hydrants were working, although you'll note that there was difficulties encountered with some of the hydrants in terms of the opening and closing related to the age of the hydrants and the internal design of them. Also, some of the caps had become very difficult to open, and the water department indicates that they have a policy of lubricating the caps during the flushing and maintenance season so that they will not become seized up and hard to remove when they need to be put in service. North Reading has a number of older fire hydrants dating back to when the water system was originally constructed, and the water department capital maintenance plan does incorporate replacement of these hydrants as opposed to repairing them as problems are discovered. One of the items that I did want to mention that was important was the water department inspecting and being involved in recommending replacement of outdated or inoperable fire hydrants. The water department is working to complete an inspection and testing of all of these older hydrants throughout town, and is expected to complete this work in the next 2 weeks, as well as map out the location of any of the older or substandard hydrants in order to develop a program to replace the oldest hydrant models. And so what you have here is that the hydrants will be replaced. They will be replaced in those areas that the water department feels that there's the greatest need, and we will certainly include these funds in the water department capital budget. And again, there's some additional detail here that I wanted you to receive. This was a report that was forwarded through the utility superintendent, Mark Clark, and one board member speaker.
Question. We probably have not funded the capital to more aggressively replace the real old hydrants. In fact, I think the stock of new hydrants that we keep are more for emergency use when something can't be repaired. Are we to anticipate a request for additional capital in this area for October town meeting?
Question. I would have to go back and refresh my memory in terms of as part of the $473,000 that was voted back in April.
I believe it was.
Whether it included replacement of hydrants, and that's I would want to check that before we actually committed to. Yeah, $25,000 of that was for fire hydrant replacement.
They're about $900 and something a piece, I think. Yes, Mr.
Is a, it says they're going to complete this inventory in the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
Can we get a report on that?
Sure.
They're going to generate a report, I presume.
My understanding is that during the hydrants flushed at least once a year, and that's kind of the point of inspection. We're putting the EPC's material on the threads of the caps and updating the database. Now, over the course of the year, a hydrant could fail and you don't know about it until it needs to be turned on. So I'm assuming that there's some formal method of the fire department or any other department that might access a hydrant that doesn't work, that gets reported back to the water department in some formal way so it gets addressed.
I don't know the details of how it gets reported back. I was really surprised to hear that didn't appear to be any program in place.
Yeah, when I talked to our clerk regarding this one hydrant, what he told me was that the reason why it had gone so long was they had sent a crew out to repair it back some time ago, and the supervisor on the job hurt his back, and they ceased doing whatever they were going to do, and then it got forgotten. So I'm just concerned about having a database that says this hydrant has been flagged, and then some means of that it stays up on the top of the list until it's repaired, and that there's when it's repaired that the database is appropriately updated. There were some other comments by a couple of the neighbors that I received calls from that at least one of the hydrants was extremely hard to find. It was like back of the road, and the brush had grown to the point where it wasn't very visible. I don't know if that's a real problem or a perception, or whether we need to, as part of whatever we do to trim growth during the course of the summer, that we pay attention to those hydrants.
Well, I think part of the responsibility obviously lies with the town officers, town officials, DPW and fire department, I suppose, but a lot of it should rest with the property owners too, because it's in everybody's best interest. Just like in the winter time when we're asked to shovel out the hydrants near your home, we don't expect the fire department or DPW to go out and dig out every fire hydrant. We ask the residents to get them clear so that if there is an occurrence, the fire department can access it. Same thing, if it's covered with brush and overgrown, let's take a little responsibility upon ourselves in the neighborhoods to just maintain it a little bit. It doesn't take that much to do so. So maybe just another call for action on the part of the residents to be more aware and cognizant as to where the hydrants are, just as we are in the winter time, same time in this heavy growth period, to make sure that they're clear.
Can I comment on that?
Yes, Mr. Vino.
I also did speak with, I would imagine, a few of the same residents that you did, Bob. Because now granted, I went down there in the daytime, I have to admit, and I found the hydrant without ever looking for it before, but of course, I was looking for it, It wasn't overgrown to, I mean, I found it, it wasn't, it wasn't overgrown. But, as I spoke with this resident, she said, well, maybe there was not a North Reading truck that was looking for it. In other words, maybe it was a Wilmington truck or a truck assisting in the fire, and the person wasn't really sure. But the only question I would have to ask on that, and I've been meaning to ask the fire department, and I haven't done it yet, is I would assume they have the system that Reading has, that, and I'm assuming it, that when they're responding to a fire, they actually tell the engines there is a hydrant to the left corner of 11 Rock Street. They have a screen they bring up and tells them pinpoints to hydrants. Whether they weren't able to communicate that with an out-of-town engine, I don't know. But, and again, I went down there in the daytime, but it wasn't 1:30 in the morning looking for it,
Well, it seemed like we could have, in today's modern technology, a GPS location